Howdy folks. Today we're going to show you the process of canning fresh green beans from the garden. We'll take you through the process of using a pressure cooker and getting them canned so that you can enjoy them throughout the year. Howdy folks. We went out to the garden earlier today, did a little picking, and as you can see here, got some fresh green beans, got them washed, got them snapped. So we're ready to start the canning process. So got the water on. See, it's almost to a boil, so we're gonna put these in and cook them for a little bit till they start changing color. Is usually what I look for, and we'll take them out once they start changing color. But we'll get them all in here and just give them a little stir. So you see plenty of water. Obviously we're not going to use all that water, but you want to cook them in a pretty good amount of water, not too full where it's boils over, but because we are going to bring these to a boil, but 3 inches or so from the top of your pot should be good. All right, we're going to let those cook a little bit, and then we'll come back and show you how to get them canned and get them in the pressure cooker. All right folks, looks like you can see our beans are coming to a boil. They are starting to change colors, starting to turn a little darker as opposed to lighter. That's when you know they're getting done. Got over here our lids. I think I mentioned before, we always roll our lids to sterilize them and to get that whatever color clay, whatever you want to call that, rubber around there to soften up. It helps it seal better. And then here's our pressure cooker. With these green beans, you can't just put them in a jar and seal them. You have to put them in a pressure cooker because of the amount of gas that they put off. So I got that started, so you can see it's kind of starting to come to a boil. We put about 2 inches of water in there typically, and then we'll put the jars in there once we get them sealed. So just wanted to show you that, so that you don't want to put your jars in there and it's cold, right? So get this on ahead of time so it starts to almost come to a boil, and then it'll be ready once we get to putting our beans in. So just gonna turn our lids off there. You start putting the beans in. I just put them in and just take a spoon and kind of push them down a little bit. These are, we always call them flat beans, but they're really Italian aromas. You can do this with any kind of green bean, a pole bean, round beans, string beans, whatever you want to use. But we like the flat beans, the Italian aromas, to just have a little bit better flavor in my opinion, but each to his own. And then we come over here and get a teaspoon of salt and put that salt in there on top, and then come back with our measuring cup here, and we're just gonna get enough water out of the pot to fill that up. So it's good, and you want to leave you see about a 1/4 inch there from the top. You don't want to go all the way to the top, but you don't want to leave it lower either. So about a 1/4 inch there. And then I have this handy dandy little magnet. I don't have to stick my finger in there and get burned, so it just goes on there like that. And then I'll get a ring. And as you can see, this has a 2022 on it, and it's currently 2024. I reuse these lids and rings. You don't have to, that's up to you. So that's why I put the date on there. So that doesn't indicate when these green beans were canned. It indicates how old that lid is. I don't like to use them if they get more than 2 to 3 years old. So that'll be the last time that I use that particular lid. But lids are expensive, so if they're in good shape, go ahead and you can go ahead and reuse them. Sometimes they're not in good shape and you have to throw them out after one use, but this one was in pretty good shape, so just go ahead and use it again. So we'll just continue this process of getting them filled with the green beans, kind of pushing them down with the wooden spoon, and then again come over and get a teaspoon of salt, throw on top. Go and get you some good hot water and dissolve that salt. A little bit more. And it's a teaspoon, as I said, per quart. If you're doing pints, you can can these in pints as well. And then, of course, you just use a half teaspoon. So either way, however you want to do it will work. So get that on there and get it good and tight. And we'll set it over here and we'll get them put all in the pressure cooker once I get them all in the jars. All right, we got them all jarred up here and they're still very hot, so I always use a rag. And just set them down in the pressure cooker. We've got a wire rack in there that keeps the jar from sitting on the bottom of the pot. But you just set them in there like so. And we only had 4 this time. Usually I can get 5 or so in there, but we'll just go with 4 this time. And here's the lid. So just put that on there and you turn it like that. And you close this for now. And we need to get this up to 10 pounds of pressure. I can see it's about on 5 right now. So obviously this is a very old pressure cooker. This was, again, my grandmother's, like so much of the other stuff we have from my grandparents. But this was her pressure cooker, so I've still been using it. You can buy fancy pressure cookers nowadays that you just push however many pounds you want it, how long you want it, put it in there, close the lid, and it'll cook until you get to that pressure for that amount of time. This one's not like that. You got to watch it. So I cook it on, it's almost on high, but I'll turn it down as we go along. Once this pressure starts to get around 10 to 12, you want to leave it in here. Once you get it up to about 10 pounds of pressure, you want to leave it in at that pressure, like I say, 10 to 12 pounds of pressure for 20 minutes straight. And then after the 20 minutes, you'll be able to take them out. So we'll let this heat up and start pressurizing, and I'll show you that. We'll adjust the pressure by letting some steam out here or by turning down our temperature to keep it around that 10 to 12. But for now, I've got everything closed so that the pressure will increase quicker. So we'll check on it here in a few minutes and I'll show you that process of kind of keeping it around 10 to 12 pounds pressure. All right, as you can probably hear, we got a little steam coming out. You can see on our gauge here, we got the pressure to right around 10 pounds. It can be a little more, like I said, 10 to 12. This pet top back here, you can close it all the way down. Well then, you know, it's gonna get too much pressure. So that's what this is for back here. So you can adjust it however much you want or however little you want. Steam coming out to keep your gauge on, like I said, about 10 to 12 pounds. You can also adjust it with the thermostat there on the stove, but I usually just do it with this. And once you get it to that 10 to 12 pound range, then start counting your 20 minutes. Don't count from the very beginning because you won't have been at 10 pounds yet. Once you get it to 10 to 12, then you can count your 20 minutes. And then once you get your 20 minutes of 10 to 12 pound pressure, then it's done. And I'll show you how to take them out of there here in just a second when we get there. All right, looks like we got our 20 minutes in, and you can see the pressure still around 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, which is good. So we met our 20 minutes of that amount of pressure, so now we're going to take it out. And in this case, we just unscrew this. You can see all the steam that's going to come out. And then turn the burner off. And I usually try to push it back. And you definitely do not want to open it right now. You got to wait till all that pressure comes out of the pressure cooker before we can open it. So we'll let that steam come out, and then we'll open it up and get our jars out. All right, I think we got all our pressure out. I can kind of put my hand, it's still a little hot, but it's not coming out like it was. So it's safe to open, but make sure that all the pressure is out like that before you try to open it. So we should be good. So be careful because the steam can burn you. Set the lid over there. And then I have this fancy little thing you could use with a towel or whatever, but just be very, very careful when you take these out. Don't hit them on anything because they're very hot. And the last thing you want is for that jar to break and all that hot juice go all over you. So be very careful taking them out. And then just set them on the counter, and then you'll hear, once they start to cool, you'll hear these lids ping and dink that they're gonna seal real good. But again, with green beans, you have to use a pressure cooker. If you just cooked them on that stove in the pot we had earlier and put a lid on them, I promise you, that will not work. They will start foaming and bubbling, and you don't want any of that. So use a pressure cooker, and then once you do that, these jars, I mean, you could eat these beans a year later, a year and a half, maybe even 2 years later. We don't go that far because we eat them up every year, from year to year, but when they're sealed like this, after being in the pressure cooker, they're gonna be good for at least a year. All right, well, that's the green bean canning process. So for tonight, we'll say good night. God bless and giggle.